Yes. What's up? This is Impact Masters Media bringing you Impact Masters podcasts. And today we are blessed to bring you another series of episode. As usual, we're covering tech ecosystem in Africa and telling our own stories. And today we have one of our greatest man from the lake, the land of Obama and the like, one and only, the founder of Podi HQ, the coder, the software engineer himself, Sigu Magwa. How are you, Sigu?
I'm good, Mike.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
How are you doing this evening?
A little tired from the event. But
Nice.
But it's replenishing, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. For those who don't know, we are in the land of Mulembe, Kakamega. It's in Western Kenya, from one of the biggest workshop happening in this side of town. Tech workshop, actually. And that's what Sigu is mentioning. It has been awesome day. But nevertheless, we said we should bring you this live and direct. I'm your host, Michael Kimathi. And I would like to go straight ahead and ask Sigu, who is Sigu Magwa?
So Sigu Magwa, first of all, it's actually a weird kind of combination of names. So it's hard for a couple of Kenyans to tell who this name, where this name is coming from. But yes, I'm born and bred in Kenya. Besides the beautiful freshwater lake, it's called Lake Victoria. It's actually the largest freshwater lake in Africa.
Yeah.
Largest freshwater lake in Africa, if I'm not wrong. So I've been born and bred in Kisumu, Kenya, ever since. Yeah. So, and that's where I live at the moment.
Yes. So yes, you're from Kisumu, Sigu. Yes. So if I'm listening to you, I would like to know, beside you coming from Kisumu, I'd like to know where did you stay? Like, where were you born? Which year? If you want, it's optional, by the way.
Yes.
And how was your childhood? Like,
Oh, nice. So, when I was young enough to remember my, I was enough to remember my childhood. I was inside a teacher's quarters. So that was somewhere in the early 90s. Yeah, so back in early 90s, I remember I was in the teacher's quarters. So we used to have neighbors who also are teachers. So everyone around me was either a teacher's kid or also a teacher.
Okay.
Yes, or students. So I would actually enjoy looking at students doing their evening laps and just going to class. And I always used to admire going to secondary school.
Nice.
Because I always wanted to go to secondary school back then.
Okay.
Yes.
So your folks were teachers?
Yes. Yeah.
High school teachers, primary school teachers?
So back then, my mom was in primary school and my dad was teaching in high school. And after growing up, I realized that in the 80s, probably there were fast promotions. And he probably became a school head.
Right? The school principal.
Yeah, he was a school principal by the time he was in his 30s. And most of his friends were also principals by the time they were 30s. I don't think that really happens right now.
Yeah, I think our folks, when you used to join university, so I'm not that old to know it, but I think that's what used to happen, and it was a beautiful thing. So by the time you are graduating they used to graduate from Form 4 to Form 5 and 6, and Form 5 and 6 were offered by high schools, the current high schools. So if you progress that far and then join university, the government had a way of like placing you somewhere.
Yes.
So it was like a set curve. Right now, it's not definite. Like, you might do all the degrees you want, but still you have to look for something to do. It's beautiful because you can become an entrepreneur, as you are, and we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But it's not straightforward. There's nothing guaranteed.
No.
You can have a PhD and still be jobless.
Yeah, there are a couple of instances that such things have happened to Kenyans. So just a quick one. A friend of mine, so after finishing my campus, I had a friend of mine who got a job at one of the banks in Kenya. And he worked there for a year or so.
Yeah.
Then he went out to South Africa to do his master's.
Yeah.
When he came back, he was now jobless because he had left his bank job. He had now done his master's in electrical, but now there was nowhere he could get.
He was overqualified.
He was overqualified for anything that he tried to do.
Yeah. That's sometimes I say it's not to be stereotype or anything, but I think that's Africa for you. But there's someone actually who told me something interesting. This besides the point that if you are that learned, you should be able to create an opportunity for yourself.
Creating
to some extent, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's offensive to someone who has gone ahead and studied that much, but to some extent, if you can't apply your knowledge, maybe you have no business getting the knowledge.
Yeah, but again, trying to think from their perspective, it's not as easy to create your own opportunities.
For sure.
You might have been more of a scholarly person, and this might, let no one crucify me for this.
For sure.
This might actually explain why some of the best or the better learned people end up in academia, because it's probably what they're used to.
Yeah.
It's where they can easily find jobs. It's where they can easily actually just employ themselves or be employed.
Yeah.
So that to some extent might explain why the better learned people are mostly in academia. Yes.
So Sigu, where did you go to school? Like, did you go for did you start with nursery, kindergarten?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you see, I've realized by the things, and also I went to a nursery school myself. So you tell someone who went to a nursery school, like, nursery school, what's that? Yeah, they're like kindergarten and above.
So I went to a nursery school, and nursery was 1 year. So you go to a nursery school for 1 year, then you go to class 1.
By the way, you guys do... This is funny. So when you used to join nursery or class 1,
yes,
by then I don't know if it was, common to everyone.
Yeah.
You used to like touch your ear using your hand.
Yes.
You guys, do you do that?
I am a teacher's kid.
Okay.
So I will qualify as long as I go to school. Then I qualify to move to the next class. Yeah. So I didn't really have to do this. Yeah, you actually had to do this.
Sounds like corruption, man.
Yeah.
Or is it nepotism?
No. It's you have to know people.
Oh, okay. That's another polite way of saying corruption. Anyway, but it's our to anyway, here we are, and since I know you're not a bad guy, you
actually
do amazing stuff.
Yeah, I was telling you about that. So we go to class 1, then that was back where I was living. Then I was thrown into a boarding school in class 5. It was a
wait a
big
minute.
culture shock.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Can you remember your experience in these lower classes?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
I was lucky enough to be a few meters away from the school, so I would just literally cross the fence, and I would go to the primary school that I was learning at, because the secondary school and the primary school were they were just literally separated by a fence. Part of the reasons you'll never want to be a teacher's kid was that your mom would in the morning she would leave you with hot tea, and she wants you to take the tea. She's running to school, literally just going to school. She gets to school before you. And guess what she does?
She is on duty.
Yes.
If you know, you know.
If you know,
I don't think like 2,000 kids would understand what we're trying to say here, but
yes.
What we're trying to say here is that discipline was really important when we were growing up. So lateness, things to do with not doing homework, stuff to do with like being dirty or fighting, whatever, kids do when they're young was not really taken easily. And I think it molded us to be who we are. I'm not saying we're the excellent people, but, there are different ways to impact discipline. But I think discipline back in the day was really important. And she was like, this is not my kid, right?
Yeah.
When you get to school.
Exactly. You get there, and she actually would make sure that you are in the list of the latecomers, because she's sure you are late. She was very sure that you
were you tempted not to stop going to school?
I personally wasn't really that tempted to. I know my brother was, and he will skip school.
Older or younger brother?
My younger brother.
Ah.
Yeah, he will skip school for a couple of days.
Ah, okay, I see.
He had a more interesting childhood than I did. But another interesting thing I remember about my lower primary school was we would actually go. So there was a way we would tell time when in class, and we didn't have watches. So
I see.
all our iron sheets, almost in all classes, the iron sheets had some holes in them. So the sun rays will be hitting down on the floor, and we would know when it's break time.
This was a public school?
Yeah, this was a public school. It will hit down on the floor, so we will actually know exactly that.
Track the light.
Yes, so if the light gets to this point, it's break time. If it gets to this other point, it's lunchtime.
Nice.
And it was accurate.
Well, it's not nice, but because that means if it rains, then you have a new problem.
Oh yes, yeah. If there was no sun, then you really had another problem because
Hey, Chief, if you've made it this far,
Mike, you're talking about that, but again, we will literally be asked to go back to school with the school fence. So the school had a fence. Yes.
Why is that? So you guys literally build a new school while you're in school?
No. So we had a live fence. It was never
that is in primary school?
Yeah, this is at a primary school. So there's we would I don't know how to call this fence in English, but we would plant trees or we would actually have sticks around the school as the school fence. So what will happen is over time cows will come and just
once you plant these sticks, they grow?
No, not necessarily. Some grow, some never grow.
Okay.
So if they fail to grow, then we have to have other sticks.
That's the fence that you used to come back with, or?
Yes. So you'll come back home with a stick, and every person carries a stick. So it can be a thorny stick, or it can be another stick that actually grows. So if you come back with it, there were 3 types: the one that grows, and another one that you use to tie the fence. So after coming back with it, then the upper classes. So now we were clearly divided into nursery, lower, upper. And there was a common joke in school that the upper classes just never mix with the lower classes. So everyone will come back with the fence, but the upper classes were responsible for recreating the fence. And this would happen very frequently. Or maybe if a teacher sees you crossing the fence.
You should not cross the fence.
Never cross the fence.
Oh, I see.
Or you'll have to remake the whole fence.
How many hectares of land is that?
God, I can't remember. I can't even. Yeah, it's been years since I went.
But it must be a
stretch. It was a big stretch. It was a really big stretch. Another thing that we would do is about the fence thing. So there was no gate. Literally, there wasn't a gate in school. So when you close school, I know maybe a couple of Africans will understand what I'm talking about. But once you close the school, we were literally closing the school. So we would take thorns, the thorny trees,
and create a gate.
So we have it across the gate. And now the school has been closed.
You're so retro. Okay, so this is kind of fond memory with what we have developed over time. Because right now, if you tell someone who is in primary school, public or otherwise, such story. Of course, I know there are some places like Northeastern where still this applies.
Yeah.
But most of the places, things have moved, to a better place, including the mabati or the roof walls and whatever. Yes. And also the fence side of things. So when you go to upper class, so you move to the other?
Yeah, so
stream.
Yes. So what happened is just on this, just a bit on this, I took my daughter back to that school some time back, and I did realize now they have a real gate.
Ah, nice.
Yes. And on the lower classes, I honestly never knew how a window looks like.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So our classes had spaces for windows.
Okay.
But there were no windows. I don't know if you can imagine what I'm talking about.
Windows.
Yeah, so the spaces for the window was there, but there
it
was
was empty.
literally no windows. So you'll not close, you'll not open the window. It was just the space for a window, hoping that one day the windows will be put in place. So the only classes that had windows were class 7 and 8.
So everyone aimed to be there.
Yes. Everyone wanted to be in class 7. Everyone wanted to be in class 8.
Was that like intentional?
No, not really. I think the school might probably have been too broke for.
For Windows. Which school is this, by the way, if I may ask?
It's called Chianda Primary School.
Chianda. Where is
Yes.
it located specifically?
It's in Uyoma, Siaya County, Uyoma. Yes.
And Siaya, by the way, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hear there are some smart guys who come from Siaya. Very smart.
I
But
might,
on the ground,
Yes.
things are really bad.
yeah, it wasn't easy. As I said,
Yeah.
I'm one of the few who would walk a few meters. Some would walk kilometers to go prepare lunch and come back before the bell rings.
Yeah.
So yeah, people went through a lot, but I'm lucky I had shoes to school.
Yeah.
So I can't talk about not having shoes.
May
and
not
all that.
become a president.
Yeah.
Guys, if you don't get these jokes, our new president, which is William Ruto, president of Kenya, the 5th president of Kenya,
Yeah.
he didn't have, shoes. Now it's a big joke. Like if you want to become a president, you need not have shoes.
Yeah, you need to
when
not
you're
have-
growing up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So when I was going to my 5th grade, so my folks decided that enough of that. I now need to move to a new school, which was now boarding school and boys only. Now I'll pause the boarding school thing first and tell you the one last interesting thing, or
Yeah.
the last interesting thing about
Please, by all
my-
means.
my lower primary. So a lot of people don't actually understand when I tell them that. So my native language is Luo, and that's it's one of the 42 native languages, almost 42 native languages in Kenya.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand when I tell them that I learnt English in Luo. I learnt maths in Luo.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I learnt English, Swahili, and maths in Luo.
Okay.
So the teacher will literally teach us in Luo in our
Chief.
in our nursery school.
Just a little bit pause.
Yes.
I understand, by the way, guys back in the day used to learn native language in school, depending where you're schooling.
Yes.
So if you're in Luo land, you'll have a subject.
Yeah,
known
the
as
subject was
Dolo,
called mother
right?
tongue. No, it was called mother
Or
tongue.
mother tongue.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's another place, you'll be taught that.
Yes. So
But I don't know if they teach that nowadays.
I think it was scrapped somewhere in early 2000s.
Yeah.
It might have been scrapped
Yeah.
when they were doing away with the extra subjects.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they might have scrapped it away. But again, I honestly think it was a genius move to let us learn languages in language that we already understand.
True.
Because before I went to school, and I think by today's standard, I went to school late. Nowadays, kids go to school at around 3 years. I went to school at about 5, I think. 5 or something.
Yeah.
I was already fluent in Luo.
Yeah.
So if you want to teach me English, then teach me English in Luo.
Start from that point.
Yeah, exactly. So my whole math, I can do anything in maths in Luo. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's how I got started in maths, English, Swahili. But again, the danger of it is that you always think in Luo, then you translate it back to maths or Swahili. So this is relevant to me going to the boarding school, because now in boarding school, there's no more Luo.
Yes.
So there's another culture shock.
You guys, did you have monitor? Was it called monitor or monto or something?
Monitor for the
Not
disc.
monitor. There's something, if you spoke mother tongue,
The
you
disc.
hang it, or you
Yes.
called it the disc.
The disc.
So for us, we call it monto. I don't know where that came from. Maybe
Yeah.
some guys who have studied in the eastern part of the country will understand.
Yeah.
But we used to call it monto. So it was for us, it was this like smelly bone. I don't know which animal that bone came from, but you could hang it. Was a shame, man.
Yeah.
You could hang it the whole day until you find someone else who is
Speaking
speaking
mother
mother tongue, and then, do you know what that does for an African,
Yeah.
you hate your own.
Yeah,
I think it's a way of brainwashing you to
Yes.
think that your own language is
not
really
the
bad.
Yeah, that was it was really uncalled for. Lucky for us, lower classes were allowed to speak Luo. You could speak as much Luo as you want. But from class 4 onwards, it was just to try to sharpen the Queen's language. You are just trying to sharpen the Queen's language.
So
you need to
unfortunate.
it was a very unfortunate thing. But again, the teachers thought that they were doing what is best for us.
Yeah.
They really thought that the most successful students are the ones who can speak the best English.
Yeah, but and this actually brings me to a very important aspect of life that I've come to understand.
Yeah.
Speaking does not measure how smart you are.
Yes. And actually, accents do not tell how smart you are.
True. And 20% true.
And actually, accents simply means that you speak another language better than the language they think you
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you are here now in boarding school.
Yes. Oh, yes.
What happens?
So I get a culture shock now in a boarding school. I go to this school, no more Luo. And now I have to speak Swahili.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I'm now in grade 5. I have to speak Swahili all the time.
I tell you why I'm laughing. Yes.
And it's not easy because it's for the first time I'm meeting a lot of people from the urban region. And I had never really interacted with people who had grown up in towns. I'd never interacted with people who would regularly take buses to and from home. I didn't get the concept of taking a car if you're not going to a far place, if you're not going to a hospital. I didn't understand what it is to... Why even taking the car? You're going back home. What do you mean? Can you just walk back home? Because everything to me was a walking distance away.
Yeah.
However far it was.
Yes.
It was literally a walking distance away.
Yeah.
Even back in the primary school, we'll walk for sports days.
Yes.
We'll walk to the next school.
Yes.
And walk back. So that was
And how far was that? It's sounding like you walk back. But how far was it?
The walk would be almost an hour.
So
2
distance-wise?
Really, Google Maps has just spoiled the distance things for me. I no longer can now tell what the distance
but do you have like approximates?
What distance was that?
Because right now you know where you used to go and, and come back.
Is that should be around 8 kilometers one way.
For a kid, that's a long distance.
Yeah, that's a long distance for a kid. So we'll sing along the way. Whether you've lost or won, you just have to sing all the way back to school.
Yeah.
Oh, so
when you lost, did you sing sad songs or?
No, you just have to sing. So we will tell ourselves that we don't want all the villagers to know that we've lost. So we'll just sing some victory songs, the Tumeshinda thing. And by then I'm singing Tumeshinda and I don't know what it is. Just singing.
In Swahili?
Yeah, we are singing Swahili and English and we do not know what. I remember one of the songs was Don't You Worry, My Dear. I didn't know what I was singing. I was just saying, Don't you worry, my dear. Later on,
what the hell is that?
Exactly. I didn't even know what that was. Then later on, I come and realize they were actually saying, Don't worry, my dear.
Yeah. Now you remind me something interesting. And even it happens even nowadays. So some musicians sing, and the song is so good.
Yeah.
Even maybe in Lingala or French. And then you want to sing along. But then later on, you realize what you sang is actually opposite or something that actually doesn't make sense. And then when someone translates it for you, you're like, what did I say? I see that a lot on TikTok right now.
Yes.
People like trying to, translate songs and whatnot. Yeah.
Now you're talking about Lingala. Back then, if you were not listening to Lingala, then you're backwards.
Lingala is so big in
Lingala was the thing.
Maestro.
It was the thing.
Yeah.
Kofi Olomide had just released, we used to call it Loi, the album.
I know the Loi, yeah. The album itself was Loi.
The album itself was called Loi. If you could not sing along, then you're backward. So now I go get these urbanized humans who can sing along. Everything. So I do my best when I go back home during the holidays to cram and sing along.
What?
Now we go back to school the following term. Now there's a new song, and now whatever I have crammed
It's not
is now
relevant.
for the stupid ones.
No way.
Imagine.
That's
So,
not.
Yeah, that
Yeah, you have
that
to
was-
move with the trend.
exactly. That was me now trying to fit in back then. And it wasn't easy because you don't know anything.
Yes.
Everything that you try
And of course,
to
you
know.
can't catch up. Musicians release a lot of songs at
Yes.
the same time. So every week
Yes.
there's a hit somewhere.
But again, I had to wait for KBC Swahili,
Mm.
the station,
Mm.
for it to play the song. Maybe they were lucky enough to have the VHS tapes.
You couldn't buy like the tapes, the
Where
cassettes.
where will you play it from?
That's another problem.
Yeah, you need to have a TV.
Wait a minute. No, not the VHS, the cassette. There are those cassettes which used to have tape on one side, on the other side, which you could place on your radio and play it.
I wish I would send my father when he went to town, but I didn't know he was in he had the ability to buy the tapes and just bring them
Priorities.
home. Yes.
Like, is it the tape or should you hit?
Yeah, exactly.
Young man,
So-
get your priorities right. Yeah, so Kiswahili, there's something you said about Kiswahili.
Yeah.
And how was that?
Yeah, so me trying to catch up
Swahili,
in
yeah.
Swahili, me trying to catch up in Swahili, it wasn't easy, but I was lucky to have a family friend who was there. So whenever someone told me anything that I could not understand, I will just cram the word, rush to him and ask him, what does it mean? He would explain it to me. He would try and just make me understand what was being put across. So an embarrassing moment I remember, it shouldn't be embarrassing, but again, an embarrassing moment I remember about the Swahili thing. So it seems the teacher had realized that I'm not good in Swahili.
Yes.
I can't read it, but I could write it. Yeah, I would not fail a Swahili exam.
Yeah.
But I can't
Speaking was
speak.
the problem.
Yeah, speaking was the problem.
Because even the thinking was in the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was reading a paragraph in Swahili for the whole class,
Yeah.
and I saw some 3 letters. It was MBU. And when I was reading through, I read it as Mbo. And the whole class started laughing. I still don't know what's wrong. So the teacher goes to the board and writes MBWA and tells me, can you read this? And I read it, Mbwa. You know, I'm literally reading
What you see.
what I see. It's literally as I've been taught.
Yes.
So I still don't understand what's wrong. Then someone just gets up and corrects me, but I still don't understand why.
Why is it sounding different?
Yeah, why is it? And literally, if you think about it, they're the only 2 words in Swahili that you have to prolong the B. Because this is mbu and the other one is mbwa. There's no other Swahili word that you have to prolong if you think about it. So this was an edge case that someone expected me to understand.
Yeah.
So now I didn't have a lot of association with those who I was trying to catch up with because they always knew that I was behind. So I didn't really associate a lot with them.
So you developed some self-esteem when it comes to...
Yes, and I would actually create groups of people who I think that they're feeling the way I'm feeling. Who I actually thought that they are actually not trying to bring me down, or just who
people could understand you.
Yeah, people who could understand me, and it wasn't easy to actually even get anyone who could understand me back in primary school.
Yes.
So this actually even affected my performance.
Yeah.
So I remember I was at the bottom 4 in my first term, bottom 10, second term. I was always at the bottom because the culture shock I was telling you about.
Yes.
It wasn't easy back then, just the language, everything. Some other very interesting thing about the culture shock in primary school. So I go to my primary school, and one of the interesting things that shocks me is that electricity is available throughout the day.
You're like, what is this?
How?
Is this a miracle? Is this a magic or something?
How comes that if I switch on the switch,
the wall,
throughout the day? You know, I'm the son of a teacher in high school.
Yes. And by the way, you're considered the affluent.
Yeah. And now, yes. So, so the school had a generator.
Yes.
And you'll switch on the generator at 6:30 in the evening. The generator would run up to around 10:30 at night. But at 10:25, the control of the generator will dim the light once.
It's like warnings.
Yes, the warning, the second warning, and now the third one, it goes. So since my childhood, I always knew that electricity is available at night.
Only.
Yeah. And electricity is generated by a generator. And I knew where the generator is, and I would hear the generator sound. But now here I am. I can't see the generator, but the power is there.
So you thought these guys are using magic or something?
Yeah, no, I really could not understand why are we not blinking the lights at night? How comes you're still going to sleep and there's still power?
Yeah.
So you mean I can now iron my clothes during the day?
You felt like a boss.
Yeah, it's no. I think maybe a confused boss because things are just not adding up.
Yeah.
Nothing was really adding up.
Yes.
So I will just.
Which year was this?
Oh wow. That was 1998.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Sour. If I was in that school also, I could be like, hey, Sigu, man. Sigu,
No, but,
Sigu, are you all right?
yeah, I was... back in 98, would you really cut?
Yeah. You're good. Yeah.
You're good?
Go on, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So back in 98, electricity and a tarmac road was a luxury.
That's for the big boys.
Yeah.
So they maybe...
Because back when where we were living, the roads will get so bad that...
That's Maram Road or...
Yeah, it was a Maram road, but when it rains, it was so bad that the buses will not get to the other side.
So you have to swim the other side or what?
Yeah, you
what
just
happens?
have to find your way across and just find another car to the other side. But again, the buses were timed. I know the buses were timed. I know there was a bus called Kamolo, and there was Kamolo number 4, number 5, and Kamolo number 7. And they will operate at 8 in the morning, 11, 2, 5, and 7 at night.
Yes.
We knew where they were, how they were, and how they were moving.
So things were a bit predictable.
Yeah, everything was predictable. We knew when the lights will be on. We knew when the bus will be coming. And there are only buses. And when it rains, the bus will never be there.
And remember, this time actually mobile phones have not catch up. Actually,
there were no mobile
landline.
Phones. Yeah, they were only landlines.
So if someone has to give you a call, you have to wait at the booth.
Yeah, I will see the adults actually. They will speak on a booth. After speaking on a booth, then they set a date to speak again on the booth.
That means if you are maybe your wife or your husband, okay, then mostly it was your husband.
Yeah,
is working maybe in the city or in the next, closest town.
Yes,
you have to like make arrangements and know them somewhere actually, and be disciplined about it, because if you miss that slot,
yes,
it's not going to happen for some time.
And can I say something interesting?
Yeah.
So for those who didn't have the chance to use the landlines, they think reverse call is something new.
Yes. By the way,
We used to reverse call.
Yes, for sure.
So you'll reverse call the operator. You request them to call the person you want to call.
And charge them on your behalf.
Yes. So reverse calls will actually work through the operator of the telephone switch. Yes. So you dial the operator's number, then you tell them who to call.
Yes. I see.
So that is where reverse call came from. So actually, we even used telephone booths in my high school.
Yes, because I wanted to ask you, like, most schools actually were connected to the telephone.
Yes.
Even when internet came, because I think 98, 99, there was some, like, very slow internet.
Yes.
In KB, for those who are using gigabytes, buying bundles and complaining that some, they are finishing so fast. Then the speed was like 256 KB.
Yes.
That is kilobytes.
Now that you're talking about that, you've just reminded me, again, another culture shock, but lucky me, it was a culture shock for everyone in school.
Yeah.
The introduction to computers.
Was
it
Windows? It? Yes, sure.
Yeah, so in my primary school, we'll do our exams. Then at the end of the term, the results will be pinned on the wall with everyone's results. So position 1 to the last position,
Yeah.
and there was a line of shame. The line of shame would actually separate those who have failed from those who have passed.
Mm-hmm.
And this was being done in a typewriter by their secretary. So they will do all this and pin them on the notice board. So there was this time that we ran to the notice board and we realized the font are different. Everything is different and everything just looks organized. We could not believe that it was the same typewriter that had done this. So we asked her, really, we were now no longer interested in our positions, and we were like, no.
What happened here?
What happened? How is this piece of paper so clean? Because the typewriter papers were never
Of
white.
course, because of the ink. And,
Yeah, they were
whatnot.
never
Even
just
papers are not
clean
that
white.
quality though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were, no, just tell us. And she brought her to the office and explained to us what she's working with.
You saw the computer for the first time.
The magic.
Oh, you called it the magic.
It was the magic.
It's still 98 or 99 or?
That was around 99 or 2000. Yes. But again, it might have been the 2000 because we were talking about computers dying in 2000.
Oh, millennium.
Yes.
Millennium was a big thing then.
Yes. The millennium.
Everything will stop working.
Thing.
And
Yes.
there's that movie, Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
It has told people like the computers will take over the world.
But again, Mike, it might explain why I really don't watch movies because
You don't watch movies
no,
at all?
I didn't grow up with movies.
Oh, okay.
It's not something that I comfortably do. If I was maybe if I started this when I was young enough, I would actually embrace it. But at this point, it's probably too late because I thought watching a movie back in my primary school, I thought that watching a movie was again an act of fitting in. I was like, no, I don't think I want to fit in everything.
Oh, okay.
Let me just do my studies and move on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because that's an interesting perspective. Because also I feel like people like related movies and whatnot with people who live in town and cities.
That's actually the case because every type of movie that we used to watch was regarded as the movies for those who don't know what they need to watch. Yeah, because back at home we would actually go to our neighbors who had a generator to watch movies from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And now movies from Nigeria, they were very interesting for us. We will spend hours watching them, part 1, part 2, part 3.
You see someone being turned into a chicken.
Yeah, and it was
fascinating.
Yeah. Now, if you do anything
still
wrong,
is, man.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah, yes, it is. But again, you can't express your love for the movie because it's considered backward. It's considered as a movie that no one should watch. Yeah. So that's probably part of the reasons I was like, I don't think whatever I like, if you don't like whatever I like, then
no problem.
Yeah, I won't really fit in. Yeah.
So you started learning to be your own man, your own self.
I think
and
that came way later on.
So
way
still you are like,
later.
you want to fit in, but...
Yeah, you want to fit in.
But you start eating that.
Yes.
Because even access is not that available.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Yeah, so I think we can move to high school now.
Now you are... Yeah.
I've already talked about introduction to computers, right?
Yeah.
So we see it, we don't touch it because it has a big screen and the screen is better. You can
used to be a big thing.
Yeah, imagine you could see something before you print it.
Yeah.
You can literally see the whole list.
And review.
Yeah.
Whereas with the typewriter, it was like, if you have a typo, so far, so good. You go on or you just start afresh.
No, the whitewash.
Oh, there was... Yes.
There was a
How did I forget about that?
So you just scroll it up.
What I saw actually from our second, because even when I joined high school, they used to use typewriter a lot. Even I think there are documents that are supposed to be typed using typewriter for obvious reasons. Originality. And it's like writing with your own hand. So they want to do that for that traceability. And also, I think also if you type with a typewriter, so I hear, you can trace back like which specific typewriter wrote the document.
Oh, nice.
So it was just another thing that used to happen. So it gave people like forensic people, people who are involved with the investigation and whatnot, to be able to trace fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So even document in the bank used to be written
With
using
typewritten.
yes.
Oh,
And until even today, you see even
they
some
use
courts using, I don't know if it's a typewriter or something, but they use to.
And most printers are actually, most bank printers are dot matrix printers.
Absolutely.
They're very noisy.
Yes. I think there's a background in it in terms of traceability, fraud, and whatnot.
Okay.
But I know the high school ones were like, what else can we do? Yeah. And secretaries were a really big deal.
Yeah.
To be a secretary.
But again, I also had a privilege of knowing a secretary, befriending a secretary, and this was someone who was actually working at the school that I was with that my dad was at. So she would literally teach me how to type. So I knew how to type in a typewriter back in the 90s.
Yes. Dude.
Yes.
You're the luckiest of the few, Bana. As much as you had all these issues, typing fast is one thing that I consider if you really want to progress in even programming and whatnot.
Yeah.
Typing fast is really important because whatever you do, you can learn and type fast.
Yes.
Right? So, and then figure out maybe the errors later and understand. Like your learning curve might, I would say it would be faster than someone who doesn't know how to type fast.
Yes. So, another thing that now, after learning how to type in a typewriter, back then, I came to understand the keyboard in a computer way later on. If you look at a shift, when you shift, in the typewriter, literally when you are shifting, you are literally shifting the bar that hits. So you'll use the upper bar or the lower bar. So when you press the shift, you use the upper bar because it was a bar that goes and hits this the paper. If you do a shift, it now uses the upper one and hits it.
That is the caps and the lower.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was caps is now a permanent shift. Caps was now a permanent shift, and there's another key called the carriage return, which is commonly known as the return key, and also known as the enter.
Yeah, chief. Sawa.
So in a carriage return, if you use a typewriter, there was an automatic line feed not line feed, there was an automatic progress of your paper horizontally. Yeah. So it would progress to the end, and you have to do a line feed for it to go next. So if you do a line feed, you move to the next line, but again, you're at the end of the line. So you have to come to the beginning of the paper. So you do an enter, then you go to the beginning. If you look at your enter key, it always points down the beginning.
I think it's the same. Okay, though keyboards have
it's not treated there.
This actually has changed. So here instead of enter, it's return.
Return, yes.
So just telling you to return what you've just explained.
You do a line feed, then you move to the beginning of the line. So your
so this is returning you to the beginning.
Yes. So you literally do that with your hand.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yes, I saw that. Like, and then
exactly.
And then they start now typing all over again.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good concept. So you started interacting with now the computing on the back end, but you never knew this how maybe
I
this
never
will
knew
evolve
what it was because she would tell me to do a composition on the typewriter whenever she was not busy. So I'll just spend my time doing typing around the typewriter. Yeah. I know about the whitewash because every time I will make a mistake, I will ask for the whitewash, do it. But again, now correcting whitewash mistakes was a little hard because you have to hit the exact point. Yes. But again, there was some precision stuff that will tell you where this, I don't know the names, would go and hit. So you scroll up.
Yeah, that doesn't sound so easy the way I saw them do it. It's kind of complex. That's why actually training as a secretary then was I don't know if people still train as to be secretaries, but it was a big deal then.
Yes,
secretary, accountant. banker.
Yes.
Banker are the guys who, these are the guys who are dealing with money, so they had to go to certain level. CPA was a thing. Medicine. You never had anyone going for medicine. There was no school of medicine, I think, until some.
Like you're talking about careers now, I can tell you about my experience with careers and my exposure.
Yeah.
Now that the only thing I knew was school, this is still in primary school, and school and back to another school because we used to live in a school.
Mm-hmm.
So we would not interact with a lot of people unless they're students or teachers.
Oh, I see.
So now there's someone who's come to school to give a career talk.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's asking around, what would you like to be when you grow up?
Yes, yes.
So people give different things that they want to be. And now he asks, who will want to be an engineer?
Mm-hmm.
I will see a couple of hands up.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused.
What
I'm
is
literally
engineering?
confused. No. I know who an engineer is.
Uh-huh. Who is an engineer?
I know what engineering does.
Yes.
And the engineer that I know is someone who fixes cars.
Those are the guys you used to say. These are
We
engineers.
used to call them engineers. They are the engineers.
But Luos are good with cars, though. Let's give it to them. Even right now in Nairobi, if you are Luo, you want to take your machine to the Luo guy.
Yes, they know what
they must. It's deserved.
And guess who the pilot was? Guess who a pilot is?
Don't tell me a Bukinya driver, man.
Yeah, the driver. This is something I've never been taught what an engineer is. So I was literally confused in the hall when people raised up their hands.
It was that serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a joke. I don't know what it is. I don't know what these guys want to be.
But this is in Siaya?
Yes.
My man.
Yeah, the culture shock.
Okay, so go ahead. So what else was like people were saying? Were there teachers there? Were there guys who wanted to become?
No one really wanted to be a teacher. People wanted to be scientists. I remember I said that I want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a pilot because my brother wanted to be a pilot.
Your younger or older brother?
A younger brother.
Okay.
And my younger brother, I think he really liked doing a lot of things that I could not understand. So,
is he still alive?
Yeah, yes, he is.
Okay.
So when he said he wanted to be a pilot, he was celebrated. So I also wanted to be celebrated.
It was cool. Like you wanted to be cool.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, my dad explained to us that a pilot is this person who flies planes. Aeroplanes.
Nice. Were you guys like?
Yeah.
I love my dad for this, or
No,
how was
really,
that
because
exposure?
the aeroplane was also this fairy equipment that we will see flying by. We had never seen an aeroplane up close.
Oh yeah.
So it's not anything that you just want to be up in the sky. You don't know what you're doing up in the sky, but you just want to fly this thing up in the sky.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is a big deal to fly a plane up in the sky.
Yeah.
Something that you've never seen.
Yeah.
Unless you're on the ground that it's up, passing.
And what keeps it up there? It was a mystery.
No, it's up there. You know, you're at that point where you're not questioning anything.
So because okay.
Things that are working, they're just working.
Okay.
Because they're just working.
Yes.
I was at that point of, I don't want to ask questions because no one is giving answers. And I'm going to school because I have to clear school, get a job. I don't know what I want to do, but if I try to leave school, then I know who my father is. I know who my mother is. I can't go to fish because they won't allow me to go fishing.
Oh, fishing was a big deal in at home.
We have fish millionaires.
Yes. Say that again.
We have fish millionaires.
People fish until they become millionaires.
Yes.
Large scale fishing or normal fishing?
Just normal fishing, but again, this was back then.
Okay.
Yeah. Nowadays,
there are no more fish, or
yes, there are
fish is
no
not
more
a
fish.
big deal.
There are no more fish.
This is new information to me. I'm trying to process. Like, yeah, I mean, so you can't become a fish millionaire right now.
No, you
the
can't.
tutorial.
Maybe you can, but you have to be different.
Large
Completely
scale
different.
processing,
Yes,
value
exactly.
addition.
Yeah. And
By the way, let me ask you this, Sigu,
Yes.
because you're more experienced in this. I've been meaning to understand the fishing business in the lake.
yeah.
Why there is no like proper, fishing processes, also try to breed the fish, the way that, it become a legit business and people could depend on it like fully, given the size of the lake and also given that people already are doing that as a livelihood.
Okay. That's a good one. So I remember in early 90s again,
Yeah.
back at home, there was a fishermen cooperative society. They even had a lorry.
Yeah.
The roads were bad,
Mm-hmm.
but lorries will get to our homes.
Yeah.
And the lorries will actually they will be full of fish
Yes.
to Kisumu.
Mm-hmm.
So if the lorries were full of fish to Kisumu, it means there were a lot of fish back then.
Yeah.
And there was a cooperative, which means people would come together to create cooperatives. So since that there was that particular structure and there was enough fish, people would actually make money off fish.
Yeah.
The government did their best to control breeding of fish. They did a lot to control the breeding of fish. And there were seasons where it was not allowed to go fishing.
Yeah.
I think to date, it's their size of nets that are not allowed in the lake.
Bigger or small?
Smaller.
Okay.
Because they will take growing fish. So the fish need to be in a particular size.
So
harvest.
the what's it called? The size of where there is a
the net size needs to be at a particular size.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to fish the smaller ones who are
then
not
interfere
even
with the
ready to
ecosystem.
reproduce. Yes. Yeah. So I wish I knew more about how the government still does it, but I don't think it's as it was before. Yes.
Okay.